version, a New Zealander with the unlikely moniker of Possum Bourne was contemplating the trip ahead.
The roads are a bit of a worry. I haven't done any rallying in Australia that is blind, so they get a few frights, but hopefully we'll get away with them and we'll be able to put it up a good display.
Day one would test the cars, the drivers and co-drivers over a vast array of conditions in the hilly country around Albury. Bourne in the Group A car was showing the kind of acceleration and handling that he hopes will help dominate the Australian Rally Championships this season.
Yeah, I'm just being a bit, how would you say, a bit careful because I'm not sure of the brake surface and things like that, so I'm just taking it a bit easy, but still trying a little bit.
On the very next leg, he would be one of the early casualties. His new Subaru was out after only 5 stages. But that merely set the scene for the stock standard Subaru Liberty Turbo, driven by West Australian Robert Herridge, to take charge. Herridge was not troubled by the factory-modified entrance. In fact, he just purred along.
Tremendous. The car's running sweet as a nut, performing really good. The brakes are smoking up, they're only standard brakes. But the car's looking good and the whole team's looking good at the moment.
In the Hyundai Lantra, Wayne Bell and his dog's body Dave were moving well, just as the Daihatsu Charada Bob Nicolai and Dale Hines were making their presence felt. Herridge, though, was at home in the Subaru. The Liberty had been prepared under Possum Bourne's watchful eye in New Zealand, and only 6 weeks ago had been used by his wife to trot out to the supermarket to pick up the shopping. Of the 62 cars that left the start, the field had dwindled. Some had nursed their cars quietly, if you could call it that, over this first leg of the Australian Rally Series. Others had flogged their cars unmercifully and would ultimately pay the penalty. Herridge was out in front and at one stage would lead by 4 minutes before a puncture reduced that advantage to 30 seconds. Car 10, the Mitsubishi Galant of Graham Alexander and David Stewart, was closing. As the sun began to set, the halfway mark of the Alpine Rally was looming. A tricky sprint in the half light, and that in itself was a test for the weary drivers. Day 2, and the damage was still being assessed. Graham Alexander had found a couple of particularly nasty rocks, but that wouldn't stop him. Others found that a tray truck was the only way home. This was $20,000 worth of Commodore belonging to Simon Evans, making an undignified and early exit. Once again, Rob Herridge would make the Subaru sing. He'd driven with control and with patience, and his efforts were bearing dividends. Behind Herridge was Graham Alexander in the Galant, car number 10. And hot on his exhaust, the Nissan Pulsar of Peter Fife, number 16. Patrick Barber said farewell as his Ford Laser TX3 left the road. It looked a lot worse than it actually was. Both Barber and his co-driver Jeff Floyd walked away from the mess.
Yeah, they did.
62 entries, only 21 would finish the rally. First home would be Team Subaru's Rob Herridge, showing the form that made him an outstanding competitor in the 1991 Australian Rally Championships. Second would be the battered Mitsubishi Galant of Alexander and Stewart. Most sports fans would find it hard to identify rallying with the deserted sheds and pavilions of the Claremont Showgrounds. But this is a sport that is coming to the people. In round 2 of the Australian Rally Championships in Western Australia, the opening stages gave the locals a chance to see the cars clean and close up over a 4-kilometre sprint through the avenues that usually house the sideshows. Favourite for this Western Australian leg of the championship will be local driver Rob Herridge in the snappy blue and yellow Subaru Liberty Turbo. Herridge was a first-up winner in the Alpine Rally, his Category N vehicle stunning the big boys to take the open category.
Very pleasing, especially as we weren't expected to win. It's tremendous to come to WA with a big lead over the opposition, and the best thing about it is that most of the main opposition didn't score any points, so we're looking good.
Fortunately, the goats were absent as the drivers made a last lap of the showgrounds and headed east to the forests around Mundaring for the serious rallying. Subaru's Class A entrant Possum Bourne was an early casualty in the first round of the series, but early on he showed he was serious in this West Australian rally. This is the pipeline in the Mundaring forest, and a chance for Herridge to put his foot down. In the Hyundai, series leader Wayne Bell was again the man to beat in Class 7 for cars between 13 and 1600 cc's. In the Daihatsu, Bob Nicolai was also dominating. At one stage he missed the road, but was winched back into the action. He'd go on and win his class. The Forest Rally, as the West Australian round is known, has been dominated in recent years by international star Ross Dunkerton, a 7 times winner of this rally over the past 15 years. But in his absence, Herridge was the man to beat. 56 cars had set out from the Claremont Showgrounds, and a dozen would fall by the wayside. As darkness fell, the field was trying to bridge Herridge's lead. Possum Bourne's hopes again slumped, and he would not be a starter on day 2. A broken cam belt ended his dreams, and Subaru's hopes of victory would rest with Herridge. Overnight rain had settled the dust that choked the forest roads and made life just that bit more bearable for the spectators. Not that this helped Russell Nelson in car 42, as he made a meal of this corner. At Harvey, the locals would again be invited to witness firsthand the delights of rallying. And Jamie Morgan in car number 37 demonstrated the art of cornering with a dose of pike. Herridge and his co-driver Mark Nelson of South Australia again proved the masters of the conditions. While one leg had to be abandoned because of the slippery and dangerous surfaces, the rally went ahead. And so too did car number 1.
Couldn't be a better result for Subaru. We've got a commanding lead in the championship, and the world's our oyster, or at least the Australian Championship at the moment.
Car number 18, the Galant of McGraw and McGowan, would finish 3rd, behind another Galant, that of Chalice and Van der Straten, but they were 90 seconds behind Herridge. The Subaru would again be victorious, the first time a Class N vehicle had taken the overall title, and for Herridge, his 4th win in the last 5 events. Round 3 of the Australian Rally Championships take the drivers and cars to South Australia. The Festival State Rally beginning May 23.